The year was 1935, and the world was already on the brink of upheaval. Deep within the heart of Germany, in the shadowy corridors of the Third Reich, Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, was formulating an idea that would forever intertwine pseudoscience with ideology. His ambition? To prove the existence of a master race, the so-called Aryans, whose bloodline he believed was the foundation of all superior civilizations. Himmler's obsession wasn't just an abstract dream. It was based on the notion that Germany's rightful place in history lay in a mythical past. To him, the German people were the true descendants of this master race, and only by proving this link could he justify the Reich's territorial and moral supremacy. Thus, the Ahnenerbe, meaning ancestral heritage, was born. Its mission was both scientific and ideological, to dig through the past to create the future of Nazi Germany. The Ahnenerbe was not some rogue organization working in isolation. It was made up of the most intelligent and educated minds of Nazi Germany. Scholars, archaeologists, historians, and scientists alike were recruited. But these men, brilliant as they were, weren't guided by a quest for truth. They were driven by a fanaticism that clouded reason. The most prominent of these figures was Hermann Wirth, an archaeologist who believed that an ancient Aryan civilization existed in the frozen landscapes of the north, long before modern history recorded it. Wirth's theories would lay the groundwork for the Ahnenerbe's expeditions. Himmler brought in more scholars like Wirth, men who could distort history to fit the Nazi narrative. But how do you convince the world that an ancient superior race existed without proof? For that you need to find, or fabricate, the evidence. The search was on. The most ambitious of the Ahnenerbe's many projects was the 1938 expedition to Tibet, led by Ernst Schaefer, an ornithologist turned archaeologist. Himmler was convinced that Tibet, a land shrouded in mystery and spiritualism, held the key to the origins of the Aryan race. He believed that the Himalayas might have been the last refuge of an ancient Aryan civilization, its remnants hidden in the mountain's snowy peaks. Schaefer and his team embarked on the perilous journey with SS officers by their side. They were determined to collect skulls, physical measurements, and cultural artifacts. The goal? To prove that the people of Tibet, with their European features, were somehow linked to this mythical Aryan race. Schaefer was meticulous, recording every piece of data, every artifact they found, all in a desperate attempt to make the dots connect. The landscape was unforgiving. Snowstorms lashed their camps. Monks in ancient monasteries were both suspicious and curious about the foreign visitors. Yet the Germans pressed on, scaling the treacherous mountain paths in search of Aryan relics. They returned to Germany with measurements, bones, and photographs. But despite all their efforts, they found no definitive proof of Aryan origins in Tibet. Still, the Ahnenerbe proclaimed success, twisting the narrative to fit their beliefs. The Ahnenerbe wasn't just concerned with archaeology and anthropology. Himmler, like many high-ranking Nazis, was deeply fascinated by mysticism and the occult. He believed in a cosmic connection between ancient Aryan civilizations and occult practices, and he wanted the Ahnenerbe to delve into the spiritual world as well. One of the Ahnenerbe's most bizarre projects involved the search for the Holy Grail, the legendary cup from Christian mythology said to grant immortality. Himmler was convinced that the Grail was an Aryan artifact and that its powers could be harnessed for the Nazi cause. The Ahnenerbe's researchers combed through ancient texts and sent expeditions to sacred sites across Europe, desperately trying to find this mythical object. They also sought out ancient runes, magical symbols, and other occult artifacts, believing these held secret knowledge about the Aryan race's supernatural powers. Their investigations into mysticism were a strange mix of academic study and wild fantasy, a grotesque distortion of both science and spirituality. As the Nazi war machine gained momentum, the Ahnenerbe extended its reach into Scandinavia. The Nazis believed that the Norse myths and sagas held hidden truths about Aryan ancestors, who were glorified in tales of Viking conquest. Himmler ordered the Ahnenerbe to comb through the ancient texts of Iceland and Norway, hoping to unearth any connection between the Norse gods and the Aryan people. They were particularly interested in finding evidence of a prehistoric, pure Aryan race in the north, as Wirth had theorized. The sagas of Odin and Thor were reinterpreted, the Vikings romanticized as the embodiment of Aryan virtues, warriors, conquerors, and explorers. Nazi researchers went so far as to trace bloodlines, examining ancient burial sites for proof of a genetically superior race. The Ahnenerbe wasn't just an academic or occult institution, it was also a powerful tool of Nazi propaganda. Hitler, Himmler, and Goebbels used the pseudo-archaeological findings to bolster their claims of Aryan superiority. Museums across Germany displayed the Ahnenerbe's discoveries, each exhibit designed to reinforce the myth of an ancient, glorious past that the Nazis were determined to revive. In schools, textbooks were rewritten, with Aryan ancestors depicted as the creators of civilization. Every piece of propaganda hammered home the idea that the German people were the rightful heirs to this ancient, superior lineage. The Ahnenerbe's work wasn't about truth. It was about shaping a new reality for the German people, one that would justify their dominance over other races. As the war progressed, the Ahnenerbe's ambitions turned darker. No longer content with simply finding proof of Aryan supremacy, the organization began to directly influence Nazi racial policies. They provided scientific justification for the atrocities of the Holocaust, asserting that the extermination of Jews, Slavs, and other undesirable peoples was a necessary step in preserving the purity of the Aryan race. In the concentration camps, Ahnenerbe scientists conducted horrifying experiments on prisoners, many of them Jews and Romani people. They measured skulls, dissected bodies, and performed brutal procedures, all in the name of proving Aryan superiority. The Ahnenerbe's role in the Holocaust was not peripheral. They were deeply involved in the ideology and execution of Nazi racial policies. By 1945, the Third Reich was crumbling. The Ahnenerbe, once a prestigious institution at the heart of Nazi ideology, fell apart as the Allies closed in. Many of its members fled, taking with them stolen artifacts, documents, and research that would never see the light of day. Others were captured and tried at the Nuremberg trials, where their crimes against humanity were revealed to the world. In the end, the Ahnenerbe's quest to prove Aryan supremacy was a grotesque failure. They had distorted history, manipulated science, and committed unspeakable atrocities, all in the name of a lie. Their legacy would be one of shame, a dark reminder of how the past can be twisted for evil ends. After the war, many of the Ahnenerbe's artifacts and research disappeared. Some were recovered by the Allies, but much of their work remains lost to this day. In the decades that followed, historians and archaeologists have continued to uncover the full extent of the Ahnenerbe's operations. The stolen artifacts, falsified evidence, and records of inhumane experiments serve as a chilling reminder of how ideology can corrupt science. The quest for Aryanism, though ultimately futile, left a scar on the academic world. Many of the fields the Ahnenerbe delved into, archaeology, anthropology, history, had to be painstakingly rebuilt after the war. The Ahnenerbe's legacy is one of destruction, not discovery. Today, the story of the Ahnenerbe serves as a cautionary tale. It is a reminder of the dangers of pseudoscience, of allowing ideology to dictate research, and of the human capacity for cruelty in the name of a distorted vision of the past. The Nazis' misuse of archaeology, history, and science not only cost countless lives, but also nearly destroyed entire fields of study. But history, when confronted honestly, has a way of correcting itself. In the end, the truth outlives even the most powerful lies.